The Manor Farm site covers 22 acres of beautiful grounds, combining history, culture and outdoor leisure.
Today's heritage site of Manor Farm is what remains of an originally much larger estate. It was a domain of the medieval manor of Ruislip. That means the estate was legally retained by the lord of the manor for their own use. Written records from the 11th century tell us that the domain of Manor Farm consisted of 6,350 acres. That's larger than 5,000 football pitches.
From its woodland origins to its centuries as a working farm, its period as a Norman priory, and current function as a site of community activity and historical interest, Manor Farm has continuously been an important centre for this area.
The first record we have of the pond is from the 16th century, during the reign of Elizabeth I. At that time, it was known as the Horse Pool. Today, the pond is home to many different plant and animal species. If you're lucky, you might spot our resident heron. Now imagine it's June 1505. A new manor farmhouse is to be built. 53 oak trees have been felled in the nearby woodland. The barks have been stripped, and now they're ready for construction. Looking at the manor house facade, you can still see the original vertical black oak beams brought over from Ruislip Woods.
By the late summer 1505, a master carpenter, skilled craftsmen and their assistants arrive from Cambridge or London. They're supported by unskilled labourers, carters and suppliers drawn from Ruislip's workforce.
Just like today, innovative and expensive features in construction demonstrated high status. The brickwork you see in this two-storey Tudor building was expensive to produce. The diagonal patterns in between the timbers are known as nogging. Look at the current windows. You'll probably notice they're not aligned or symmetrical. They were inserted at different dates between the 16th and 20th century.
Here in the entrance hall, you'll find one of our treasures.
It's the turn of the 18th century. Wallpaper has been around for about 70 years, but it's still not as common as textile wall decorations. The paper has been woodblock printed. Each colour is added in successive layers. The paper sheets are cut into wide panels, ready to be nailed onto the walls. The effect imitates fashionable Dutch fabric wall hangings. The fanciful wallpaper design you see here borrows imagery from around the world. Look at the mannequin piss-type boy. It's inspired by the famous statue in Brussels. The boy stands amongst stylised flowers, buildings, animals and birds.
By the 1740s, this entrance hall at Manor Farm had been panelled over. Abraham Price's exotic wallpaper remained hidden underneath. It was rediscovered 2.5 centuries later during a renovation. It's the oldest known domestic in-situ wallpaper left in Britain, which makes it very special. English Heritage have dated it back to 1700. Late medieval manor houses typically performed two functions. They provided a residence for the lord of the manor and served as the manor's administrative headquarters. But here, the lords of the manor were the provosts of King's College, Cambridge, so they didn't live at the house. And neither did their manorial lessees. Manor Farmhouse was to primarily serve as the manorial court, while being sublet to a tenant farmer. During the Second World War, and for some time after, Manor Farm served as a mother and baby clinic. Visitors would leave their prams in this shed, which resulted in its name. The old pram shed now houses a collection of 18th and 19th century farming tools. Look down towards the end of the orchard and the dense shrubbery. This is known as Grimm's Dyke, which marked the boundary of what would have been a large parkland in the medieval era. This land is recorded in the Domesday Book in the 11th century. The Domesday Book entry states that Ruislip holds land for 20 ploughs. This means that 20 teams of 8 oxen are needed to till the surface area over the course of a year. While these trees were mostly planted in the 1960s and 70s, an older orchard used to stand here before the First World War. It might have been started by the tenants of the time, the Ewer family. Welcome to the oldest standing building at Manor Farm. In fact, it's the oldest timber-framed barn in the Greater London area. The barn was commissioned by the Abbey of Bec at the end of the 13th century, over 700 years ago.
Look at the impressive large wooden doors. These were reinstated in 2008 after the original doors were removed in 1932. The monks administer the manor of Ruislip and collect rents to return to the abbey. The religious men split their time between prayer, religious studies and tending the land.
The monks return to the Abbey of Bec in France once every 6 years, bringing with them the priory accounts and a certificate of good conduct.
It's 1300, and after seasons of preparation, teams of labourers are ready to raise the great barn into place. The master carpenter marks the timbers by inscribing Roman numerals onto them. They can't risk having a beam out of place if the structure is to hold fast. The timbers are attached to ropes and pulleys, ready to be reared up by labourers. Holes have been bored into the lower part of the pillars to support the pulling. The beams are then locked into place with hand-carved joints and pins.
The Roman numerals, inscribed by the master carpenter, can still be seen on several of the timbers today. If you're inside the barn, look on the 4th pillar after the carpenter. There you can see the Roman numerals inscribed hundreds of years ago.
At 36.5 metres long by 9 metres wide, the Great Barn provides plenty of storage space for a season's harvest. The Great Barn's 7 bays hold the season's produce between their pillars. This includes goods reserved for tax. The Great Tithes, that's tax paid in corn, hay and wood, will be collected by the monks of the Abbey of Bec. The Little Tithes, consisting of eggs, milk and minor produce, go to the vicar.
The little barn was built in the middle of the 16th century and was used for the same purpose until the 1930s. In 1937, the barn was converted to a library, which it still is today. The original fabric of the building remains and was restored between 2007 and 2008. The little barn has a single-span oak timber frame comprising 7 bays. It's covered by a tiled roof with weather-boarded walls above and brick infilling between the timber frames below. It's 1086, and William the Conqueror, the first Norman King of England, has ordered his men to find and count every farmland, person, pig or chicken in England. This is the Great Survey, soon to become known as the Domesday Book. It will dictate how much money and how many soldiers each manor within England should contribute to the king and his army.
It's estimated that a local population of 250 resided here, in approximately 50 dwellings. This included a priest and different categories of unfree peasants. You should now be standing near what we call the motte and bailey. The motte is the raised mound of earth in front of the pram shed, to the right of the Manor Farm house entrance. From the motte, if you look towards Ruislip High Street, you should be able to see the tower of St Martin's Church. The church has been there since the 13th century.
Standing on the top of the motte, you'll find yourself encircled by a moat. Thanks to its historical importance, the mound is now a scheduled monument. So what mysteries lie beneath your feet? Let's travel back in time.
It's 1066. Arnulf de Hesdin stands on the motte and surveys his land.
It's thought that a wooden motte and bailey castle, as large as 110 by 61 metres, was erected here at that time. In today's terms, the castle would have been about the size of a professional football pitch. The first line of defence would have been the moat. The castle might also have had a wooden keep, meaning a fortified tower, and an enclosed courtyard known as a bailey. Motte and bailey castles provided a formidable obstacle for any attacker.
Manor Farm has been the object of political strategy. Seized from a Saxon lord, the site was awarded to the Norman follower Arnulf de Hesdin. It was then passed on to a Norman abbey, in a bid to curry favour from a powerful religious body, only to be seized again by the English king Henry VI. Henry then gifted the site to King's College, Cambridge. Whoever the lord of the manor was, the presence of local labourers and farmers has remained constant across the ages. Ultimately, it's the labourers to whom we owe the beautiful historic buildings which still stand today. the Great Barn, the Little Barn, and Manor Farm House. These remarkable structures were made with local materials by local craftsmen. It was only fitting, therefore, that King's College should decide to gift Manor Farm to the people of Ruislip in the 20th century. Built and toiled upon by the people, Manor Farm is now for their descendants and for those from near and far to benefit from and enjoy. To see where Manor Farm's timber came from, explore the ancient Ruislip woods nearby.